In this video, we're going to discuss how to approximate the mean of grouped data sets. Recall that grouped data sets are those that have already been placed into different classes, such as these. We've already found the class width, we've calculated the upper and lower class limits, so we do not have the raw data. We do not know in this particular class if all 16 of these values are 3 or if 5 of them are 3.01, 3.02. We do not know exactly what the raw data is. So all we can do is approximate the mean in this particular case. When we're approximating the mean, we already have the classes and we have the frequencies. We're going to compute the class midpoint. Recall that the midpoint is calculated by the lower class limit plus the next lower limit, and then we divide by 2. So to find the class midpoint of this first class, we're going to take 3 plus 4, and we're divide by 2, which gives me 3.5. So 3.5 is my class midpoint for this particular data set. If I look here, notice that I have a difference between these two lower limits of 1. So I've added 1 down each time. This is my class width. And the reason why I'm finding the class width is because the class width is the same on the class midpoints as well. To demonstrate, if I look at these two lower limits, 4 plus 5, and I divide by 2, I get 4.5. Therefore, that is my next class midpoint. I have basically added 1 to the first class midpoint, which is what I've done here on my lower limits. Therefore, my next class midpoints will be 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5, and I messed up there, 10.5, 11.5, and 12.5. We are looking at the approximation of the mean. And this is the mean rate for these mutual funds. So the mean rate of return for mutual funds. The first thing again is we have to compute that midpoint of each class. Then we're going to take the class midpoint and we're going to multiply it by the frequency. So this is midpoint times the frequency. And you will notice that I'm not using an X for the multiplication sign because X actually means something. It means that one of our data values. So I don't really want to use an X anymore for multiplication. Now I had to up here because it's difficult when you're typing and everything. But from now on we need to use that dot to signify multiplication or parentheses to signify multiplication. Okay, so I'm going to take 16 times 3.5 and I get 56. I'll take 13 times 4.5 and I'll get 58.5. I'm going to do this for all of these classes. So 4 times 5.5 will be 22. I really like it when there's ones and there's zeros because 1 times 6.5 is 6.5. 0 times anything is 0. 1 times 8.5 is 8.5. 0 times anything again, is 0. 2 times 10.5 will be 21. 2 times 11.5 will be 23. 1 times 12.5 will be 12.5. Now we have the midpoint times the frequency. Usually when we are finding the mean, we add up all the data values and then we divide by how many there are. Well, here we know how many there are. It tells us here that there's 40, but I can add up my frequency and that gives me n. That's my sample size. That's how many I have. But again, I do not know what value these 16 data points are. I know that they're somewhere between here, but I don't know exactly what they are. In order to calculate the mean, what we're doing is we're finding the midpoint, and we're going to say, okay, each of these 16 values is 3.5. Each of these 13 values averages out to 4.5 each. So I can't just add up the midpoints, because that would mean I only had one in each class. Therefore, I have 16 values that are 3.5. That is like taking 3.5 and writing it out 16 times. Well, I'll be very honest, I don't want to have to write out and then turn around and add up all of these 40 data values. So what we do is we take 16 times 3.5, gives us 56. The 13 times the 4.5 is the same thing as adding 4.5 up 13 times, is 58.5. I'm going to take these values and I'm going to add them up. When I add up all of those values, I get 208. This is like saying the sum of my x values is 208. So I've taken all my values and added them up. My mean, my sample mean, will be 208 divided by not how many classes there are, but what my total frequency is, divided by 40. When I do this division, I'm going to get 5.2. My mean 5-year return, or 5-year rate of return, is 5.2. So calculating the mean whenever we have already grouped data is definitely not as easy as whenever we just have the raw data set, because we have to now find the midpoint of each class, and then we have to do the multiplication and add up. So I'd like for you to try some of these and then let me know if you have any questions.